to the channel. In this video is my Premier League predictions game week 13. Game week 12 was an exciting weekend full of interesting results. Chelsea got a 2-0 victory at the Turf Moor against Burnley. Arsenal also surprised Tottenham Hotspur at the Emirates Stadium, winning by 4-1. And well, moving on, Manchester United too on Monday night lost 1-0 to Everton, which played with 10 men. It was shocking that Liverpool too at the weekend lost 3-0 at Anfield to Nottingham Forest. So game week 12, I had two games that was spot on predicted. The game between Brighton and Brentford, I predicted a 2-1 victory for Brighton, and well, I got it spot on predicted. And the game at the Vitality Stadium, that was between AFC Bournemouth and Wsst Ham United, I predicted a 2-2 draw, and at the end of the day, I got it spot on predicted. My name is Andy Finer. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel, like this video. I want to say again, thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the channel. Right now we have 5k subscribers, and I really appreciate everyone. Don't waste too much of your time. Let's get started with the game week 13 prediction. Starting off the game with 13 predictions at the GTEC Community Stadium is between Brentford versus Burnley. In game week 12, Brentford got a 2-1 loss against Brighton. I predicted it, and I got it spot on predicted. With Burnley also, they lost in game week 12 2-0 at the Turf Moor against Chelsea. Looking at both teams on the Premier League table as of now, Brentford is now 13th on the Premier League table with 16 points minus of 1 goal. Talking about Burnley, they are also 19th on the Premier League table with 10 points minus of 10 goals as it stands in game week 12. What do I think is going to happen at the GTEC Community Stadium coming up in game week 13? Well, I'm tipping Brentford to get a win over Burnley. What is my score prediction? With Igor Thiago scoring goals back to back, I mean, that's why in game week 12 they lost, but well, he keeps scoring, and well, I think he's going to score against Burnley in this game in game week 13. What is my score prediction? Well, I'm predicting Brentford to get a 3-1 victory over Burnley in game week 13. Brentford 3, Burnley 1. Moving on to the next game at the Etihad Stadium in game week 13 is between Manchester City versus Leeds United, which is a new promoted side. Well, going to this game in game week 13, what do I think is going to happen? Because in game week 12, Manchester City went to the St. James Park and they lost by 2-1 against Newcastle United in game week 12. Talking about Leeds United, also in game week 12, lost at home at the Aaron Road 2-1 to Aston Villa in game week 12. So both teams lost their games in game week 12. Can Manchester City bounce back after losing against Newcastle United in game week 12? Probably yes. But well, looking at both teams on the league table as at game week 12, Manchester City is now third on league table with 22 points plus of 14 goals. Talking about Leeds United, they are also 18th on the league table with 11 points minus of 11 goals as it stands in game week 12. What is my score prediction going into this game in game week 13? Manchester City hosting Leeds United at the Etihad Stadium. Well, I'm predicting Manchester City to get a win over Leeds United, because even just Manchester City in their recent game that they play in the UEFA Champions League lost at home to Bayer Leverkusen, which in that game Pep Guardiola decided to rest so many players, and well, he lost in the UEFA Champions League game. So going into this game is going to be like a redemption. So Manchester City have to get a statement result, and in this game I'm predicting City to get a 4-0 victory over Leeds United. My prediction is Manchester City 4, Leeds United 0. Moving on to the next game at the Stadium of Light in game week 13 is between Sunderland versus AFC Bournemouth. This is going to be an interesting game coming up in Premier League game week 13. Sunderland hosting AFC Bournemouth at the Stadium of Light. Talking about Sunderland in game week 12 lost at the Craven Cottage by 1-0 against Fulham, while AFC Bournemouth also got a 2-2 draw against Wsst Ham United in game week 12. Looking at both teams on the league table at the moment, Sunderland is now 7th on the Premier League table with 19 points plus of 3 goals. AFC Bournemouth is also 8th on the league table with 19 points plus of 1 goal. And looking at Sunderland in their home games this season, they have been brilliant. They got their last game that they played at home was against Arsenal, that they got a 2-2 draw against Arsenal. And while Sunderland hosting Bournemouth, I think this season Bournemouth too has not been a bad side. And going to this game at the Stadium of Light, what do I think is going to happen? I think I'm tipping Sunderland to get a win or draw against AFC Bournemouth. My score prediction in this game is going to be a 2-1 victory for Sunderland, but I will not be shocked if this game ends in a 1-1 draw. But my scoreline is a 2-1 victory for Sunderland. Moving on to the next game at the Hill Dickinson Stadium is between Everton versus Newcastle United. Talking about these two teams in game week 12. Everton in game week 12 at the Old Trafford got a 1-0 victory over Manchester United, even though in that game Everton played with 10 men against Manchester United. But at the end of the day, they got a 1-0 victory over Manchester United in game week 12. Talking about Newcastle United too, in game week 12 secure a 2-1 victory over Manchester City at the St. James Park in game week 12. What do I think is going to happen at the Hill Dickinson Stadium? Looking at Everton on the Premier League table, they are now 11th on the league table with 18 points plus of 0 goal. Talking about Newcastle United, they are also 14th on the league table with 15 points minus of 2 goals as it stands in game week 12. What is my score prediction going into this game at the Hill Dickinson Stadium in game week 13? Well, I'm predicting this game to end in a draw. My score prediction in this game is going to be a 1-1 draw. Everton 1, Newcastle United 1. Moving on to the next game in London at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is between Tottenham Hotspur versus Fulham. This is a London derby coming up in game week 13. Tottenham Hotspur hosting Fulham, and this is going to be an interesting clash. Looking at both teams in game week 12, Tottenham Hotspur went to the Emirates Stadium in the London derby and they lost by 4-1 against Arsenal. Talking about Fulham, they also got a 1-0 victory over Sunderland in game week 12. And going into this game in game week 13 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, this season looking at both teams on the league table, Tottenham Hotspur at the moment, they are 9th on the league table with 19 points. And talking about Fulham, they are also 15th on the Premier League table with 14 points minus of 3 goals. Going into this game in game 13 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, what is my score prediction? Well, I'm predicting Tottenham Hotspur to get a slight victory over Fulham in game week 13. My score prediction in this game is going to be a 2-0 victory for Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham Hotspur 2, Fulham 0. Moving on to the next game in London at the Selhurst Park is between Crystal Palace versus Manchester United. This is going to be an interesting clash coming up in game week 13. Crystal Palace at home hosting Manchester United. In game week 12, Crystal Palace went to Wolves and they got a 2-0 victory over Wolves. Manchester United too at home in game week 12 lost 1-0 against Everton. Looking at both teams on the league table as it stands in game week 12, Crystal Palace at the moment, they are 5th on the Premier League table with 20 points plus of 9 goals. Talking about Manchester United, they are also 10th on the Premier League table with 18 points plus of 0 goal as it stands in game week 12. Going to this game at the Selhurst Park, Manchester United coming from a loss against Everton and going to face a very tough opponent like Crystal Palace in game week 13. I think this is going to be a very difficult game for Manchester United. Well, I'm tipping Crystal Palace to get a win over Manchester United. What is my score prediction? I'm predicting a 2-1 victory for Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace 2, Manchester United 1. Moving on to the next game at the Villa Park in game week 13 is between Aston Villa versus Wolves. Talking about Aston Villa, in game week 12, Aston Villa got a 2-1 victory over Leeds United, and Wolves also lost 2-0 against Crystal Palace in game week 12. Looking at both teams on the Premier League table as it stands, right now Aston Villa is one of the most informed teams on the Premier League table. In their last 7 games in the Premier League, they've won 6 and they lost 1. The one that they lost was against Liverpool. They've won against some of the tough opponents like even Manchester City, and it's my Boston. In their last game, despite this season they didn't have a good start, but well, in the last 7 games they are winning back-to-back wins, and it's so impressive to say this about Aston Villa. Right now, looking at them, that 4th on the Premier League table with 21 points plus of 4 goals. Talking about Wolves, they are also 20th at the bottom of the table with just 2 points minus of 20 goals as it stands in game week 12. Going into this game at the Villa Park is going to be a one-way result. I'm predicting Aston Villa to get a victory over Wolves. What is my score prediction? I'm predicting Aston Villa to get a 3-0 victory over Wolves. Aston Villa 3, Wolves 0. Moving on to the next game at the City Ground in game week 13 is between Nottingham Forest versus Brighton. This is going to be one of the most anticipated and the most looked out for games that I'm going to watch in game week 13. Nottingham Forest hosting Brighton. These are two teams who won in game week 12. They got a 3-0 victory over Liverpool, and well, Brighton too at home at the Emirates Stadium got a 2-1 victory over Brentford in game week 12. Looking at both teams on the league table, Brighton is now sit on the league table with 19 points plus of 3 goals. And while Nottingham Forest is also 16th on the league table with 12 points minus of 7 goals. Despite this season, Nottingham Forest had a rough start, but well, since they changed their manager, I think they are now grinding up results and they have been impressive in their last 3 games in the Premier League. What do I think is going to happen at the City Ground where Brighton go to face Nottingham Forest? Well, I'm predicting this game to end in a draw. What is my score prediction? Well, I'm predicting this game to end in a 2-2 draw, but I'll not be shocked if Nottingham Forest get a 2-1 victory over Brighton. My prediction is a 2-2 draw, but I'll not be sure if it ends in a draw. Moving on to the next game at the London Stadium in game week 10 is between West Ham United versus Liverpool. Talking about both teams, in game week 12, West Ham United got a 2-2 draw at the Vitality Stadium against AFC Bournemouth, whilst Liverpool too at home at Anfield lost 3-0 against Nottingham Forest in game week 12. Looking at both teams on the league table as it stands in game week 12, while Liverpool at the moment they are 12th on the league table with 18 points minus of 2 goals. And talking about West Ham United, they are also 17th on the league table with 11 points minus of 10 goals as it stands in game week 12. What do I think is going to happen at the London Stadium coming up in game week 13? Liverpool, in their last 7 games in the Premier League, they've only won 1, that was against Aston Villa. And well, West Ham United, despite they also had a rough start of the season, but well, in their past 2-3 games, they are picking up results, and it's going to be interesting. A struggling Liverpool going to the London Stadium to face West Ham United. Well, I'm tipping Liverpool to get a win over West Ham United, but my score prediction is going to be a 2-1 victory for Liverpool, but I will not be shocked if this game ends in a draw. Moving on to the last game, which is the game of the week in Premier League game week 13, is at the Stamford Bridge, Chelsea versus Arsenal. This is a London derby, and well, this is the biggest, this is the top half of the table. The results of this game will set up the title race for this season. And interestingly, looking at the standing as it stands in game week 12, Chelsea got a 2-0 victory over Burnley, and Arsenal also at the Emirates Stadium got a 4-1 victory over Tottenham Hotspur in game week 12. Right now, looking at the standings as it stands in game week 12, Arsenal is topping the Premier League table, 29 points plus of 18 goals, and Chelsea is also second behind Arsenal with 23 points plus of 12 goals. So if Chelsea get a win over Arsenal, it means the points difference will now be 3 between Chelsea and Arsenal, and the title race will start from there. Right now, Chelsea is coming from a 3-0 victory that they got over Barcelona in the UEFA Champions League, which Chelsea outplayed Barcelona. And well, Arsenal, too, as I'm recording this video, they are yet to play their game against Bayern Munich at the Emirates Stadium. So it's going to be interesting at the weekend. Chelsea played against Barcelona and Arsenal also playing against Bayern. I mean, this is the biggest of it all. If Arsenal get a good result against Bayern, it's going to be interesting at the weekend at the Stamford Bridge. But well, what do I think is going to happen with Chelsea? Cole Palmer coming back. I mean, we just saw him that he's back to training, and well, he's training for this game. Chelsea without Palmer even got a 3-0 victory over Barcelona. So now that Palmer is coming back, you see Palmer and Estevao, this duo in front of Chelsea attack is going to be fire at the Stamford Bridge. What is my score prediction? Chelsea versus Arsenal. Well, I'm tipping Chelsea to get a 2-1 victory over Arsenal in game week 13. Chelsea 2, Arsenal 1. Yes, this has been my prediction for Premier League game week 13. My name is Andy Final. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment your predictions and your thoughts at the comment section, and I'll be there to react with your comment and your thoughts. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Till we meet in another video. Bye bye for now.